I know why. I know exactly why it's doing this, and Wells Fargo can blow me. We almost have WrestleMania tickets. Almost. We're like this close.
This is episode 105 of Culture 316. I'm your guy, Jay the Creative.
I don't know who I am today. You know what? You know who I am? I'm Angie main roster. That's what I am.
Not Angie Monday night or Tuesday night.
I'm just Angie main roster because he's both. Johnny's both.
It's been an eventful week.
Yeah.
In WWE and wrestling.
Quite.
Whew. In so many ways. So we're gonna start off with the Elimination Chamber, WWE's previous pay-per-view, and I would have to say that it was a great show, pretty good show. Start to finish, I couldn't really get mad about anything. How did you feel about the show?
So, barring the entire first match, I slept through Miz and Shane. I slept through, and this is not like on the performers, I was just tired. I slept through Balor's entire match. I literally caught the coup de grace to Leo Rush, and that was it. And then I think I was up for the duration of the pay-per-view because I think after that was like the women and some other stuff. I thought it was an okay show. Like going back and thinking about it, like I slept through all of the bad stuff,
right? Except
for Braun Strowman and I was about to say Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin. I slept through all the boring stuff, but I think I was pretty awake. I was pretty awake for everything else. I was very awake for Boston Hug Connection becoming the brand new first ever, even though it's not the first tag team women's belts,
tag team,
but
yeah.
Whatever, mind your business. The first ever WWE women's tag team champions, and yes, I did cry because I did.
If you guys didn't see the teaser, you should. It was Nick crying, but I would. So would you say that was the moment of the night?
That was my moment. That was my moment of the night. I don't care about anything else that happened. Well, actually, I do. I care about Kofi almost this close getting the title. But other than that, my moment of the night was Sasha Banks and Bayley being super resourceful, finally finishing out this chapter of chasing to become the first ever
women's tag team champion. I would definitely say that was my moment of the night too. For the moment that's going to come in as a close second is a tie between Balor winning the IC championship. And Kofi almost winning the WWE Championship. Well, Balor won the IC title. And I think I was more invested in that because finally Balor has a title and a good one at that. And I feel like he's going to get a really good reign out of it. Like I feel like he's going to go into Mania with the title and he's going to leave Mania with the title. So that was my moment of the night. And then coming off of Sunday, we go into Monday where about 2 hours prior to the show, it was announced that Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa, and Ricochet were spotted backstage on Raw. Hunter would then open the show and say that all four of these NXT talents will be making their Monday night debuts. How did you feel about their debut? Other than the fact that Lafayette, Louisiana sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Lafayette, Louisiana sucks.
Don't ever go back there.
Never. The Cajun what? The Cajun Dub. That's what the name of the arena is now called, is the Cajun Dub.
Dude, if you watched Raw on Monday, it was the most draining experience ever. And it wasn't because the show was bad, because the show was pretty okay. You know, it was much better than the Raws we got in December during Baron Corbin's reign of terror. I think the show was very, good, but they definitely chose the wrong city to debut these guys.
They could have been 20 minutes away in actual New Orleans because they were there the next night for SmackDown. And New Orleans was a way better crowd.
They were in New Orleans for SmackDown?
Yes, they were. They were in the Smoothie King Center.
Dude, you couldn't have just
done Raw and SmackDown right there
and been like, oh, this is a post-Mania because we were here last year.
Right, and they in New Orleans was a way better crowd than Lafayette, Louisiana.
Bruh.
And it was the 20 minutes away. It wouldn't have made much of a difference.
Bruh. Anyway, speaking of the NXT call-ups, so I didn't know if this was an official call-up. All signs are pointing to it being an official call-up. I don't necessarily agree with it being an official call-up. I do feel like when you have the NXT champion, the NXT North American champion, probably up until 8 o'clock tonight, I'm just saying. I'm sorry, Johnny. You know I love you. Aleister Black, who is like
A main staple. In
who was
NXT.
basically going up to the main roster anyway, which we all figured, and Ricky, that's like wow.
Their 4 biggest talents.
Yeah, like that's their 4 biggest guys. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it's kind of gutting NXT, and I can understand an argument for it not necessarily because Hunter has signed so much talent.
So many people.
But it's just like, even when, call-ups have happened in the past, like Bong, when they called up Sasha Becky and Charlotte in July of 2015, they left Bayley down there.
Yeah.
But Bayley had, Nia, who they were billing as they were at least trying to bill as a big
They had
star.
Nia. They had Asuka.
They had Asuka. They had, Emma. They had quite a few women down there that were good enough to, take the ball and carry it. They had Alexa Bliss, CoryMella, and then, when Asuka left, you still have Ember Moon, Shayna Baszler. When Ember left, you have Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, and not just to use the women, to use the guys. When they brought up Kevin Owens, they
Right.
had Finn Balor there for over a year. Samoa Joe.
Absolutely.
When
Nakamura.
When they brought up Finn, they had Joe and Nakamura. When they brought up Joe, Nakamura and Sami Zayn were still... Well, no, Sami Zayn wasn't down there. I'm confusing timelines. Nakamura was down there. Bobby Roode, DIY was just coming up as a huge tag team.
But it's essentially like there isn't a lot of main event players on NXT now.
Right.
Here's the thing. They said that they made their debuts, but that doesn't mean that they are a part of the main roster yet. And I don't think that a lot of people peep that.
Oh my God, Lana commented on our stuff.
Hey, let me see. Wait, Lana?
Yeah, Lana W. Oh, well, we commented on their thing,
And then she
and she replied to it.
What? It's okay.
Yes, Lana.
One of these days.
You're mad cute.
But
Yes, I love it.
Her
Pink hair is everything.
Her pink hair is everything. Now, what I will say though is that they made their debuts, but I don't think that it's an official call up. These guys have not been announced on the main roster as being a part of a particular brand as of yet. So I don't think that it was an official call up.
You have 6 people who have been called to the main roster who have not been assigned an official brand. I mean, EC3's official brand, I'm pretty sure it's catering at this point. I'm sorry. I really like EC3. I really think he'd be a great guy, but you have him lose. You have him be a mute, and he's arguably one of your best promos that you have right now.
Absolutely. But I think a lot of that stuff is going to take off after Mania. But I feel like the NXT guys that were called up, for Monday and Tuesday aren't really, they're not on the main roster officially as of yet. And even if they were, I feel like there have been other instances where like a top star has been taken from NXT and hasn't affected them as much. Like, because you mentioned the NXT championship. There was a time where
Kevin Owens, yeah.
KO feud with Cena
And he
for
was
3 months, and
the NXT champion.
He held the NXT title for 3 months while feuding with Cena.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So like they have time, and they have time to build. But I feel like
she was NXT Women's Champion for her first 2 months being on the main roster.
You're right. But I definitely none of these guys have been officially signed to the main roster yet. They've never been declared on the main roster, so I don't think that we have really anything to worry about. They still have a takeover to headline. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And so I don't think that they're gonna just bring them straight up to the main roster right
This is
before their
probably like
biggest
a
wrestling.
preem.
Yeah, it's like just little flashes, and I feel like it was definitely something to help boost ratings, because remember they're still in talks with FS1 about multiple pieces of content that they want.
I think NXT is going live on FS1. Well, not going live, but I think NXT is going to start airing on FS1 in October.
That would be amazing. That would be dope.
It opens it up to a wider audience.
Absolutely.
You have your steady 2 million people who are subscribed to the WWE Network, but then you have people who get FS1.
And that's cable's a whole new world.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's for the NXT calls. I was very happy seeing those guys.
Oh, yeah. Seeing
So-
Johnny Gargano and First of all, Tommaso, you sly, conniving.
You can't say that.
I can't say this on camera, but you know exactly what I want to say to you. I don't like you, the character, because some of y'all get offended. I don't like you, okay? You have manipulated and taken Johnny and have made him think that he had to do things, cheat to win, and that is not true. Okay? Stop messing with Johnny Gargano's head.
No, keep doing it. It's fun. But anyway, we're gonna go from the NXT call-ups into the first inductees into the 2019 WWE Hall of Fame class. D-Generation X!
I'm excited.
D-Generation X is being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and I am very excited. By the way, when we're talking about DX, we are talking about Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, X-Pac, and the ninth wonder of the world, China, which means that China will finally be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I am so happy.
It's well overdue.
I'm really sad that it comes like after when did she pass away? 2016?
2016 to 2017, I believe.
Yeah. It's really sad that it comes like after she died, it's really sad about that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm really happy she's in it. There's a lot of like, I guess, not necessarily controversy or backlash, but there's a little uproar on the internet that's just like, oh, well, why does she have to go in with DX? Why can't she go in on her own? Listen, it was not too long ago when they were looking at us like, well, we don't know, we'll see, which in corporate means hell no.
Yeah, very true.
But,
very true.
Now we're finally getting her, regardless of all the stuff that she did in the past and the porn or whatever that she was involved in, especially, and it's not like you can kind of condemn China for that because X-Pac was in it with her.
Yeah, X-Pac was in it with her, and on top of that, there was a time in WWE where like their top divas were doing Playboy. Maria, Ashley, Tori Wilson, Sable, and China.
Shawn Michaels did Playgirl.
Shawn Michaels did Playgirl. Shawn Michaels and Sunny did a porn together. And they were in a relationship, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about that. But the point is, let's just, us wrestling fans, when we get something, we're happy, but then we're unhappy that it's not the way that we wanted it. Let's just be grateful.
Hallelujah. Gratitude confirms relationship. Jesus. Woo! Gratitude.
So what are you, JRB now?
Huh?
You're JRB.
JRB. Yes, it is. That's my new name, JRB.
I can't.
JAYRB.
I am just really happy that we're finally getting China. Who do you think inducts them?
Who? The NWO.
Really?
But just Hall and Nash because Hogan is canceled.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If Hall and Nash and The Wind standing next to them.
Yeah, they can induct DX.
The brush of wind that somehow has no blonde hair that needs to be cut.
Either DX either Hall and Nash or Vince.
I could see it being Vince, but I don't think Vince likes being on TV all that much.
Or another Attitude Era star. Possibly The Rock or Stone Cold. I don't know.
I could see it being Mike Tyson.
That would be dope, but I don't want to hear his lisp. I'm sorry.
Wait, I actually thought about it. I was just like, yeah, Degeneration X. Degeneration
X.
X.
I'm not. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
So I would say I would love to see Stone Cold induct them. Attitude Era, like it's
true,
only right? So either Stone Cold or Hall and Nash.
I feel like it has to be somebody who they had like a rivalry with. Like
the Nation was their biggest faction rival.
Yeah.
And their standout guy from there was The Rock. So I mean,
The Rock is always so busy.
Very true. But
like, he's filming like 85 movies at one time.
One time, exactly. But we'll see. I think that it should be Stone Cold. Who do you guys think should be inducting DX into the Hall of Fame? Comment below. Drop a comment.
Yeah. Tweet us
because we're on Twitter
Instagram
now.
Us.
Culture316. But let's move on to the next subject, and that is Ty Dillinger. We received a notification earlier today that, well, not a notification. Well, we found out in the group chat, but on his Instagram, Ty Dillinger stated that he had asked for his release from WWE. It's not necessarily saying that he has been released, but he has asked for it. sad to see him go.
Me too.
I'm sad to see him go because Ty was a great talent. He was a star in NXT. Definitely had momentum coming onto the main roster, and it just kind of fizzled out.
I think they brought him up too early.
And on top of that, he had an injury, which kind of really slowed him down and brought him out of a. Because I think he was gonna get a U.S. title push, but that just kind of came and went.
So, I mean, Ty Dillinger, like a lot of these guys on the main roster that come from NXT, is like there's this big buzz around them because in NXT they have like this big storyline and they're pushed in a certain way. They come up, they're on TV for 2 weeks, and then
They're just out.
they kind of just
They pre-show material.
pre-show, and then once they're on the pre-show, they kind of just end up off of a pay-per-view. You know, they kind of just end up off of TV. Period. Ty Dillinger, remember, he had that big surprise spot in the 2017 Rumble. I popped so big for that. I literally screamed. It was so great. Like, and that was really like the only big surprise that year.
Right.
But his gimmick, I think it was the case of the gimmick was over,
Not necessarily
but
him.
Ty Dillinger wasn't necessarily over as like a talent. I think it was the gimmick. Because in 2016, Ty Dillinger got over big. The Perfect 10 thing got over really big. And, you know, that bled over into the main roster pay-per-view shows or regular shows where they're doing countouts and 10.
That joke is mad
Or,
funny.
you know, 1 year, or they're counting down from the Rumble and every number is 10. Or Elimination Chamber that year, every number is 10. And literally, like, for that entire year, everything was 10.
But I feel like it was hard to get Ty. It wasn't hard to get Ty over because of like who he is. Ty was a great talent, and he had a really good gimmick. But I just felt like even when he was brought up to SmackDown, it was so oversaturated then that it was hard for him to get the push that he deserved.
Right, and you know you have a lot of talent, and you have so much time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
SmackDown is a 2-hour show,
It's not
which
Raw.
I get. And you know they have guys like Shelton Benjamin who haven't done anything.
Yo, he's collecting that
You
check
know,
and being quiet.
he's honestly collecting his checks, and he's chilling. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I know it's got to eat those guys up. Like,
They
bro,
can't do-
like I know I can be doing. Like I signed to do more.
Right.
You know, I came back to WWE. In Shelton's case, you know, he was gonna come back in 2016, got injured, ended up coming back 2 years later to do nothing. You know, and not really to make this about Shelton, but you know, Ty is in the same boat. Ty, you know, he gets injured and then he kind of does nothing.
Literally.
You know,
And he had a fire shirt too. Like
yeah, his
the
merchandise was pretty great.
merchandise is dope.
And then, you know, he's on Twitter a couple days ago and somebody asked him, you know, or a couple weeks ago, and he's like, well, why don't you go back to NXT? And he literally replies to that person and goes, I tried. So it's just like,
There's only so much what he can do.
right. And I feel like, you know, I saw it going around on the internet that if he's granted his release by midnight, before midnight tonight, his 90-day or within the next day or two, his 90-day non-compete will end about 3 days before
Double or Nothing. And he is actually one talent that I would love to see in AEW because I feel like
That would be pretty cool.
that would be pretty cool. I just don't want them oversaturated with WWE guys. But
I agree. But, you know, you bring in your maybe one or two that nobody necessarily like, you know,
Right.
not nobody necessarily cared about or anything, but like you bring in your one or
The
two that's just
underutilized
like,
guys, right.
you know, instead not doing the WCW thing, which is, you know, let's bring everybody who leaves, right? Let's bring everybody who leaves or all the Hall of Famers or the TNA thing in 27 or 2007 on to, oh, Kurt Angle, this guy, that guy, Mr. Kennedy, da da da, and just bring everybody who left WWE
Matt Hardy.
into TNA. The Hardys,
I feel like
even
Jeff
though the Hardys
were
put
great
TNA on the
into-
map.
Yo, they brought them back to life.
Yeah, they
Christian Cage was also a great talent that they got from WWE. So it's not all bad. It's just you can't oversaturate your roster because then you won't be able to utilize the young guys.
Yeah,
Because they had the Young Bucks and
yeah. So I mean,
they don't got them anymore.
do you have any other thoughts on Ty Dillinger?
I don't, but I just wish him all the best of luck in all of his future
Me
endeavors.
too. You know what? You're so annoying. Me too. I really do wish Ty Dillinger the best. Like, you know, I was a big fan of Ty Dillinger's like little 2016 NXT story of, you know,
Him versus
losing,
Sanity.
losing, and then finally getting that win. I was a big fan of Ty Dillinger in NXT. I was a big fan when he debuted, and you know, I do definitely wish you the best of luck. But I do think we need to talk about this next topic.
Oh, Jesus.
Man. Okay. So,
Lord of mercy,
I love the shade
Lord
room,
of
right?
mercy.
Shade room is the best thing that internet invented.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. Because sometimes they're just rude. On Saturday afternoon, on Instagram, Corey Graves' wife posted a Instagram post with a picture of her family and, which it consists of her, Corey Graves, and their 3 kids, and also a text message thread stating, Corey Graves has been cheating on me with fellow WWE superstar CoryMella in oh so many words. And in what I think definitely was a low blow, posted a picture of him talking about, wanting to, commit suicide, which, is never a good thing.
It's never a good thing.
And, if you ever want to commit suicide, don't ever want to do that. You belong here. That's just my PSA to you. You belong here. Don't do it. We love you. We do.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a low blow, number one. But that opened up the Twitter floodgates, child. And let me tell you something. Wrestling Twitter, when we all don't like someone and unite against someone, it is so funny. Corey Graves a couple of days ago on Twitter had a bit of an argument with,
a fan,
and basically called them like poor. Or like, oh, go back to your welfare. I'm just like,
that's kind of rude.
First of all, it's rude, and second of all, you do know that white people are the people who are on welfare more than black people are, right? That's a hard truth, I know. So I kind of was just like, oh, okay, so we're trying to make fun of poor people, and then Corey Graves is kind of bit of a, D-hole on Twitter. D-hole. So it's just like, he's just not a good, like...
human being?
Yeah. He's like these people who vanity search themselves on Twitter and want to, fight everybody who has the wrong thing to say about them. Bully Ray. Wow, I had to cough just now. Yeah, so Corey Graves just did the most, but then, they were attacking CoryMella and a whole bunch of stuff. Then it comes out that apparently they've been separated for 6 months.
Yeah.
And that Corey Graves' wife is just bitter, I guess.
Yeah, because, they've been separated for 6 months, but divorce is kind of in the final stages, and she came out after those 6 months and, said that Corey had been cheating on her. And as soon as that news broke out, her Instagram went private. You can't follow her anymore.
The minute I seen it, I followed her because I was like, I need the rest of the tea because once you start, you cannot stop. I followed sis. I was like, all right, follow. I was like, because you're not going to do what Velveteen Dream did to me a couple weeks ago because I realized I wasn't following him when he privated all his stuff. Yeah. I'm like, dang, now he's not going. Dang. And then he unprivated his stuff, so now I follow him again. But I'm just like, you're not going to do me like that. Let me follow her real quick.
So, yeah, that.
And then she took down her Instagram.
Don't lie, y'all.
Don't lie and don't be bitter. I mean, because first of all, I can't really speak on this because, I'm not a woman. But I'm just like, if I would have seen, like, I know some people, I've heard this argument a few times. Some people are like, if the person is ugly and you cheated on them with somebody ugly, you really gonna be mad. But if you cheated on somebody that looked better than you, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, that's a bad bitch,
right?
That's a bad bitch. But CoryMella is amazing.
Yeah.
And Corey Graves' wife is not ugly. I don't, she's definitely not.
I ain't gonna get into who's ugly or who's not, but just don't lie and don't be bitter. I'm really
becoming the shade room. All I'm saying is, don't lie
and don't be bitter.
And don't
be bitter.
And then
don't be a Jussie. But
Jimmy Uso squared up with the cops apparently because he wanted to get fired to go to AEW.
Listen, don't.
Oh, and don't listen to Fox News because they lie.
Please don't. But we've known this. Now it was reported
Happy Black
that
History Month, everyone.
It's been reported that Jimmy Uso was taken into custody for, I think it was some type of, insightful behavior or something along those lines because he wanted to apparently, according to reports, fight a cop, which hasn't been confirmed. Naomi was a designated driver. Jimmy was in the passenger seat. So they were pulled over. Essentially, Jimmy was drunk, intoxicated. Naomi was not.
And they were driving the wrong way down a one-way street, I think.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not making any excuses for anyone because, I mean, they're saying that Naomi wasn't, you know. And listen, I love Naomi. I love the Usos. You know, I have respect for all of them and whatnot. But I'm just like, you know when you're driving the wrong way down a one-way street. So unless they was like backing up down the street because they made a wrong turn.
But then again, you don't know, like these towns that they be in.
That's true.
Yo,
they be in like
we're talking
Corpus
about
Christi.
Yo, and we're speaking in the context of New York because you can obviously see which was a one way
That's
and which
true.
one. So we don't know what they were like. They were probably, because to be honest, any person can see that's driving what is a one way and what is a two way and which way. So it was probably just an honest mistake. I'm gonna give them a benefit of the doubt, but just don't listen to Fox News.
Don't.
I'm gonna check on this.
Because if it was up to Fox News, they are getting fired. They would want to get fired because they want to go to another wrestling company called AEW. And, you know, Sabu would make his return and be WWE champion because he pinned Kofi Kingston.
Now, and that is a moral of the story is to just not listen to Fox News.
Or racist.
Period.
Happy Black History Month.
And
for the third time.
And speaking of that, because this kind of segues perfectly into our next subject, because we were talking about this in our Culture 316 group chat.
Yeah, shout out to Whitney and Nora.
Shout out to Whitney and Nora. That's fam.
That's the team.
That's the team. And so you're kind of discussing if WWE has an inclusion problem, and I'll give you kind of some things to digest from kind of what incites this theory or this question. There hasn't been an African American WWE champion, and a lot of people are saying.
And no, The Rock is not black.
He does not claim himself to be black.
They do not claim him as black, so that means he's not black. He is black because I think his mom is black.
I think it was his father.
Or his father
is black.
Well, one of them.
So he is black. He just doesn't claim to be black. Now, what I will say is there hasn't been a black WWE champion.
The World Championship is not the same thing.
The World Championship is not the same thing. The World Heavyweight Championship is not the same thing, nor does it carry the same weight as the WWE Championship. And to put this all into perspective for you, the World Heavyweight Championship was created for it to be the flagship championship of Monday Night Raw because they gave its most prestigious championship to SmackDown in 2002 so that the B show can have the weight because it has a prestigious title. The World Heavyweight Championship was never the championship that was supposed to represent WWE. It was supposed to be the flagship championship of the flagship show, and there's a difference. Also, when we're talking about WWE, we're talking about, yes, a wrestling company, but more so, a brand. And when you have a championship such as the WWE Championship, you are essentially saying that this is the guy that represents WWE. Now, whenever you have a brand and you put forth these messages, you have to understand that every message has an implicit meaning and an explicit meaning. Mm-hmm. So if you've had African-American talent that has been exceptional African-American talent, what is that implicit message saying? That and usually they only become multi-time Intercontinental champions or multi-time U.S. champions or multi-time tag team champions. But what about the WWE Championship? And 9 times out of 10, they would put the IC title or the U.S. title in a great place. Meanwhile, the person who holds the WWE Championship is usually just a different shade of white. And sometimes they can be boring. So, like, there needs to be a black WWE champion.
Sweet.
Look, let's talk about it. Listen, dear WWE, diversity does not mean different shades of white and different shades of blonde. Or different shades of hair altogether. Like just because you have one that's a dirty blonde, nothing's wrong with blonde people. Absolutely nothing's wrong with blonde people. But because you definitely have blonde hair. Mm. But when we see top talent in WWE, especially women, and the ones that they're putting on the posters and the cups and the magazines are big-breasted, blonde, I don't think it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out what your archetype is for your women's champions.
Here's my thing, right? So WWE is run by white people. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't mean anything because, you have Marvel Studios, for example, is run by Kevin Feige, who's a white guy, but where they're releasing their first female-led superhero movie next week.
Right.
Black Panther did $1 billion in the movies this time last year.
Right.
Like, Chadwick Boseman was in three of their biggest Marvel movies of all time. So, like, being white and running a company doesn't mean anything.
It's not the end all be all.
Right. But here's my thing. I very much think that this is just there, and by there I mean Kevin Dunn and the people who run production, because sometimes I do feel like Vince knows when somebody is talented and knows when to do something a certain way. But I also feel like sometimes Vince has, and you know what? CM Punk said this however many years ago it was. 8 or 9 years ago at this
CM Punk is a prophet, y'all.
Vince has a lot of people around him who say, yes, I like that, because they're afraid to step on toes. Vince is not wrong. Vince went on the Stone Cold podcast a few years ago and said there's a lot of people who are not willing to, I guess, grab the brass ring. I don't know what that means, and I do not make that for the wrestlers. The wrestlers take what they're given, and they do as best as they can.
Absolutely.
I mean that towards some of the people who work backstage. If you feel like something does not look the right way,
then you need to speak on it.
You need to speak up. You know what I'm saying?
You need to speak on it.
Finally, after 8 years of being in the company, was SmackDown Women's Champion in 2017. Sasha Banks has not had one successful Raw Women's title defense.
It hasn't gone past one defense.
Her last defense was 8 days, and she lost it to a short, white, blonde woman with boobs. I like Alexa Bliss.
Me too.
Don't get me wrong.
I like Charlotte
Alexa
too.
Bliss is dope. I love Charlotte.
Love her
Charlotte
to
is the
death.
queen. But they sacrificed Sasha Banks for Charlotte Flair. And, I mean, that's just me. That's just the fan in me speaking. I love Charlotte Flair. I love all 4 of those women. I think all 4 of those women have changed the game.
Right.
But who's the first one that's going to be on them? And then there's a mold that is the biggest thing. Literally, there's a reason why every champion looks like Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior.
Because that's what's deemed as superhero-esque or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's yeah.
There's a reason why every champion is 6'5",
250 plus pounds of muscle, white,
has either blonde hair or brown hair. The hair really doesn't matter, but usually it's like the long hair that they could put water on
and just flick around
and flip around. Listen, I can do that too. As soon as I get a blowout. When I get my hair blown out, I can do that too. But don't put no water on my head, because the minute you put water on, it's going to go like this. And we don't want that.
But, yeah.
All I'm saying is it needs to be more organic.
Very true.
You could say this with the women as well. The women still only get 1 or 2 matches on Raw.
Very true.
On the pay-per-views. And while we are getting to a place where now, the first evers are becoming normal.
Right.
It still is needs to be more organic. It needs to make more sense. When you have people, Kofi was not supposed to be in the spot. Kofi definitely lucked into this spot. And do I feel like Kofi should be WWE champion?
Absolutely.
Do I feel like he should have won on Sunday? Maybe,
No.
probably. But no,
so.
It doesn't make sense because he lucked into the spot. It would have been an incredible moment.
It was.
Even if they would have pulled like a, Daniel Bryan had his foot on the ropes, but the ref didn't see it, and the authority comes out and goes, "Hey,
You gotta restart the match. And
yeah,
whatever.
we got to redo the match," and Bryan just wins it back.
Now, here's the thing that I will say though, because if you look at the first evers of literally everything, they're all white. I'm talking about the women's division. All of them are white.
Well, no,
Charlotte was the first ever women's champion. Well, not
the tag team
Not the tag team
champions,
champions.
because the
I take
first
that back
ever
then.
were
Sasha and Bayley.
Sasha and Bayley, who are black and Latina.
So shout outs to them for that. I just feel like I feel like what happens is that they have this idea in their mind of what will work instead of paying attention to what works. Like Asuka works. You feel me?
Dude.
You don't have to have Mandy. Like you don't need Mandy like
I actually
that.
didn't mind that. I actually didn't.
You didn't mind that?
No, because I like Mandy.
I like Mandy too, but still, like, and then Lacey, like, I don't know. Apparently, they're gonna push with Lacey Evans.
That's just a joke to me. Like, Lacey never did anything of merit in NXT. So,
she just punched motherfuckers
at
in the
least
face.
Alexa Bliss got a few title opportunities. She never was at a takeover, but Alexa got a couple of NXT Women's Championship opportunities. Lacey just
punch motherfuckers in the face.
people. You know what I'm saying? So as far as and you're right. Like there's like I said, there's a mold, which is for the women, tall, blonde, boobs, or tall, blonde, white, or white, blonde, boobs, or white, blonde,
boobs,
and then they eventually end up paying for them to get boobs. Am I lying? Please, I'm not lying. But all I'm saying is this. If you're going to make your company more inclusive, what I also feel like we need to not do is the gimmick tag teams or the gimmicks that are stereotypical. I know y'all remember Crime Time.
Yo.
At the very beginning of New Day, before they became what they are now, the New Day, they were all preachers. Black preachers. If you pay attention to their theme song, it's a choir.
It's a choir, literally.
Their old Titantron used to be a black choir. I used to hate the New Day for this exact reason.
Yeah, because they were too stereotypical. Like they fit too much into a stereotype.
That's why I'm actually pretty happy that they don't really have that going right now.
Yeah.
Even though all of their black guys who you think would fit their mold because they're 6'2" and they have big muscles are smiling black guy. Bobby Lashley, when he first got here,
was a
smiling black guy. Titus O'Neil, smiling black guy. Apollo Crews, smiling black guy.
Still is a smiling black guy.
Still.
Is a
smiling black guy.
We need smiling black guys, but we also just need some black dudes.
I don't want to be a smiling black guy.
We need some rock star black guys. We need some
I want to be a rock star black guy.
We need some badass black guys. We need black guys who you look at them in the wrong way and they'll just slap the taste out of your mouth. We need every type of black guy, just like there is every type of white guy. Does that make sense?
Listen, that's why I love Bianca Belair so much. And
yes.
Listen, she cut one promo and she was like, I'm tired of these girls. I was like, see, this is why I love you. Like, because she's just herself. Let them be themselves, but also let them, and that's just speaking of creative. Let them be themselves, but also give them what they deserve. If they're good, put them in good spots.
Put them in good storylines. Give them title opportunities. Like, don't be naive and don't be just so closed-minded that you only want what you want to work. That's part of the reason why people didn't like Roman. It wasn't the matter of people not liking Roman himself. It was the fact that the fans felt as if creative and Vince was shoving Roman down everybody's throats. And we don't like being told what to like. That's the reason why Roman was hated. So if you don't want to create another Roman where you're trying to get a top guy over and you're doing too much, just listen to the people. It doesn't matter if they're black, white. If they don't fit your mold, then maybe your mold is trash as hell.
Listen, all I'm saying is if we're the authority, we should be able to have some kind of influence. Who gets pushed?
Very true.
if we're the so-called authority like Triple H and Vince and Shane,
You're the authority. I could do Hunter being the authority for
that's all I have to say on this
inclusion.
honestly.
But we want your thoughts, so be sure to comment below. Send us a tweet. Follow us on Instagram. Tell us what you think about inclusion in WWE. Do you think that they're moving in the right direction? Do you think that they've never had a problem to begin with? Let us know either way. But this is the end of episode 105. We're going to be back next week to talk about a lot of other cool wrestling things. Be sure to follow us everywhere at Culture316, and we'll see you guys next week.